Okay. Wait. All right.
Should I start now?
You definitely should, because we're live.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Escape Pod. I am Todd Fector, and with me is Sean McComber.
Hello.
Very good. Um, Welcome back. This is going to be stream number 4, and this week we have something very, very special planned. You asked for it, we delivered. Extra Sean McComber time.
No one has asked for anything, actually.
I'm pretty sure I saw in the chat that no one types in that somebody asked for it, Sean.
That might have been me.
And they said they want some harmony rigging, and we said we are going to go ahead and just. So, oops, I had some feedback. So a couple of things before we get started here. So there's a few things that are going to be happening over this next week before our next live stream, which will be next Tuesday. On Monday, March 8th at 3 p.m. Central Time, we're going to be holding a streaming discussion on concept art and what it takes to get into the concept art industry. We've had a lot of people asking lately, in terms of even some of our students who ask these questions a lot. We're trying to work on potentially getting a guest to join us for that, and if not for this one, they will be joining us for a future one. But to talk about what does it take to get into the industry in terms of conceptual artwork, and what kind of things should you be working on now if that's your goal. So that should be an interesting discussion. I think it's going to go for about an hour, Sean, from 3 to 4 p.m. Central Time next Monday, the 8th.
Yeah, it should be an hour.
And it should be super informative.
Bring your questions. That's what.
Bring your questions. Type your questions.
That's what's most important.
So one other thing that we have coming up, we're going to drop our first non-live stream video, and it's going to be on painting background keys, where we take the very first kind of episode for Boxers and Briefs, and I create just a really simple video. It's like 12 minutes long, I think, on how I go about roughing out colors and roughing out some of the design for the main background that we're going to be using for that show. So if you're interested, that should be up later today. You can go ahead and take a look at that here on the channel. And I think, without further ado, it's definitely Sean time. And Sean has been slaving away, practicing his rigging skills, getting ready to show you an amazing, amazing facial rig setup today inside of Harmony. We're going to build this up to high levels. We expect to be wowed, Sean.
I'll do my best.
Make sure you bring the energy today.
Yeah, bring the energy. That's what I always do. I've been trying to remind myself how to rig in Harmony. So we're going to start today. All right?
All right, man. Take it away.
All right.
See you guys later.
All right. Let's flip this over. And get out of there, Todd. All right. Let's see what we got here. All right. We got my setup ready to go. So let me explain just a little bit about what I'm going to do today. So let's get rid of that. All right. So we're going to rig a little bit of briefs here. I'm not going to do the whole thing because that would take forever. Or at least it would take me forever. So let me get this up as well. All right. What I want to start with, obviously I'm in Harmony. I've already imported my my artwork, my turnaround of briefs, and what we're going to do today is I'm going to rig up this little area right in here. There's a little face mask, and just kind of show you the process. So there's two parts that kind of go along with this, with rigging. One is actually creating the art and the artwork and the like pieces, and the other is rigging it so that it can move. And there's a lot of different ways you can do it inside of Harmony. Lots of different types of rigging, different types of deformers, and different types of setup. So what you really have to figure out is, what do you want to do with it, and what do I want to do with this rig? I'm not creating a rig that will probably animate every single keyframe 24 frames per second. It might be something that's a little bit poppier. So with that in mind, that's how I'm gonna actually start rigging this. So let's get going. All right. So I'm going to start with the eye. So some of the stuff that we do will be we're going to do both. We're going to build the actual kind of assets, the pieces, and then we're going to do a little bit of rigging in there. So first off, we're going to create some drawings. So I'm going to slap down some of the pieces. So we'll do left eye. All I'm doing right now are creating drawings, or basically kind of like layers, individual pieces that I can move around. So we'll do left eye, right eye. We want to do left iris. Spell that correctly. Right iris. And let's see. We're going to go ahead and create the eye mask as well. And then that's it for right now. And we're going to fix that because make sure that's an underscore. All right. So inside of Harmony, there's a whole bunch of little options that you can do. So I'm on my left eye layer. And if you look over here, we have other layers that are inside of that drawing. So you got line art, color art. Those are the main two that I'm going to be using, but you have other things like an underlayer and overlayer. So we're going to start with the line art here. So all I got to do, you can create these in a lot of different ways. Like I could simply draw with a brush, but what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to actually create a shape. So you can, rectangles, ellipses, you can do a line tool or a polyline tool, which is just, I can show you, like this, and if I grab it and pull, you can create a shape like that. So actually that might work all right for an eye, but I'm going to just do a circle right now, or an ellipse. And I also want to get my colors correct because I don't want a blue outline. All right. So we've got our circle. I'm going to up my, just looking at my line weight, line thickness. All right, we'll go with that. All right, so we got that on the line layer. We got that left eye. We'll go ahead and create the right eye as well. All right. So then I want to play with a little bit of the thickness. And yes, I will be clicking around on things. All right. So if I play with this, you can see I can actually change the width of that stroke or that line. But if I come in, I can actually add points to this. So I can do things like that. We're going to do the same thing over here to the other eye real quick. Just create a little bit of asymmetry and stuff in there. Should have turned on some music. Oh well. Next time we'll have music. Alrighty. So we've got a little bit of that. So also what I want to do is look at, go back to my left eye. So I can deform that shape if I want to. I can also, so I can change the overall shape in the drawing layer. The other thing I can do is once I rig it, I can change the shape in that. It really kind of depends. I think I might just leave it the way it is right now, and then I can I can actually rig it so we can change the shape that way. I think that might be easier right now. Okay, so what I want to do is, right now we just have the outline and I want to fill it with a color. So we have a color layer. So what I want to do is I'm going to hit this button over here. That allows me to create a color layer. So, and it creates the color layer based on my line layer. So it's looking at this shape that I've already created, and now it created another shape based on that layer. So if I go to my color layer, you can see that blue line, and it's based on that line art. So it makes it kind of easy. So you can change your shape all around in the line layer, and then hit that button, and it's going to create a shape that's exactly like your line layer. So it makes it nice and easy. So we'll switch over to just a basic white and get our paint bucket and plop it in there. There we go. So we'll do the same thing for our right eye as well. So we want to make sure we're on our line layer. It's a mistake I do all the time. I'm on the wrong layer. So we'll grab that. We will hit our button there. We will go to the color layer. We will grab our paint bucket, and we will slap that in. Easy enough. So let's do our iris. So the iris, I'm sure there's probably a better way to do what I'm about to do. I just don't know how to do it. So this works for me. So I'm just going to make a circle. And for right now, I'm going to pick a really annoying color. It's going to be black. Eventually, the iris will be. But what I want to actually do, hold on. Yeah, see, I think I just did it again. Right. I created that on the color layer. I don't want to do that. I need to be on the line layer. I'm on the left iris. I do it all the time. There's a really annoying color right there. So what we're going to do now, I just want to circle. Again, I can change it later once I rig it if I want to alter that shape. We'll switch over to, no, run that, we got that. Now we got our color layer. There we go. Now, I don't actually want the line. I don't want the line layer for various reasons that you'll see later. So I just deleted it. So now I really just have a color layer that's sitting in there. It's right there. And we want to do that for the right iris as well. So you'll see why I'm setting it up in just a second, like this. So let's do another circle. We'll do that, and I did the same thing. See? Line layer. There's our circle. We have a chat, but it's from Todd, so it doesn't count. This is already so interesting. Thanks, Todd. Thanks for building my confidence. All right. All right. So we'll select that. Create our color layer based on that. You count. You count a lot. And there we go. So now you can see that the difference of that color layer and line layer, and then we're gonna dump that. Okay. So even if they're just slightly, now we can come back in and we can change the shape of that really easily. So we'll bump that up. Try to make it look like it's the same size as that. Okay. So now we're going to actually rig something. So all we did right now is create a couple of drawings and drawing layers and all those kind of things. So what we want to do, this is one of the things that I really like about Harmony, and that is when you're rigging, it's based off of nodes, and it makes things really easy to adjust, fix, or build in this kind of piecemeal fashion. So I can just sit here and I could rig the eye, I could make it really, really complex, I could move it off to the side, and then I could build the rest of it. And at the end I could just hook it up, make sure it works. So this is our node view. So let me separate this out, and then we will take a look at it, and I can kind of show you what it is. So this is the eye mask, which I haven't created. So I'm actually gonna move it so it's just over there. So we got a right eye. There we go. And then there's our briefs turnaround. There's our art. Okay, and it's all going into this composite, and then we get to see what's in that composite. So you can see if I take out, if I unplug one of these, you can see it just goes away. We don't see it in that composite anymore. All right. So let's get those lined up. All right, so here's what I want to do. I want to go ahead and rig it. And so right now, that iris, that right iris, if I select it, select that color art. It's gonna go, there we go. We can move this around. I don't know what I just did. What am I moving around? Perfect. We're gonna step that back. Don't do whatever I just did. Let's look at this. So I can scoot that around, and you can see it'll go wherever. You'll see it wherever. That makes sense, right? So let's take a look at this. All right, now it seems to work. What I want to do is set this up so that that iris, only works within the actual eyeball, or at least you only see it. So here's what's cool about, again, about Harmony. No, I don't want that. What I want is the library. So we'll go to the node library, and you can look up a whole bunch of, it's got all sorts of things that you can do in here. What I want is a thing called a cutter, and so the cutter is going to basically cut a shape. It's like a mask. It works as a mask if you've ever worked in After Effects or something like that. Okay, so all I'm going to do is drop that in there, and then since I already made I've got line art layers and color art layers, I'm going to grab a line art, I'm going to drop that in there, and I'm going to do a color art. And I want to go ahead and do 2 of each of those, actually, because I have 2 eyes. So I'm just, there's probably a shortcut. I don't know the shortcut. All right, so for right now, I'll move that to the side, and you can kind of see what I've got here. A bunch of little nodes that are not connected, so they don't really do anything right now. So let's start connecting them. Again, this is what I think is really nice about Harmony, is you can just, it's pretty easy once you start to figure this stuff out. You make a drawing, slap some stuff on it. Now you can animate this even easier. You could just slap a peg, and we'll do a peg in a minute. So you're actually animating the peg rather than animating the actual drawing. So what we're going to do here, slap that in. So we've got a cutter. Here's the eye. And if I believe if I plug that into the cutter and then plug that in, there you go. My iris is gone. So we actually have to invert. So we'll double click, and we got that. So if we went in right now and I grabbed this, see how it's on that line? It overlaps that line art. So it's looking at the overall outside shape, but it is cut now, right? But we want it to cut at that line. So let's take a look at that. So we're going to separate out that line and color. So we've got 2 different layers within there. So we want the line art to not actually be we want it to lay over the top. So we're going to take that eye, plug it in there, plug that there, and then we want the color art to be the actual cut thing that is cut. So, fingers crossed that this just worked. Okay, I believe it worked. All right. There we go. We've got an eye that will only stay inside of that eye. You'll only see it inside of there. Part number 1 complete. Had my fingers crossed that that would work. All right, so let's really quickly set up the second eye. So, really simple. And I'll keep this organized as best I can. So we'll scoot that off. There's our eye right there. And so let's get the cutter in here. We'll slap it in there. We've got that to go over there. And this. Right there. Pop that in that. That in there. Invert it. And we're good to go. We've got 2 eyes that work. Okay. So not too bad. So let's do something else with that. So what I want to do is create a peg for both of those. So if I want to move them around, right now when I move that around, I'm actually moving the drawing, and I don't want to move the drawing. I want to move a rig so I can set keys and everything like that. It'll be cleaner. So in order to do that, we'll select both. I do know the short key for this shortcut. However, I don't want them connected. So we'll do that. There we go. So now they have a peg. We need to set the position of that peg, so like the pivot point. So we'll grab the eye, and we want to move it. So we're going to set it like right down here in the corner. And then we'll go back to this. And for the iris, I just want to put it right on there. Okay. So if I go into kind of my animation mode, you can see, grab that, it works. We can go to our right eye peg. We can move that around. You can see it still cuts. We can scale from there. So we can start to adjust that eye just from there. You can put more complex things on top of that if you want to, but and if you want to come back and edit this eye, you can. Like the actual drawing layer, you can certainly do that. Though you might have to adjust. If we start playing with that eye in the line art layer, you might then have to adjust that color art layer because it's based on what it was. Okay, so we've got that. Let's set up our left. So that was super simple. Grab that, grab that. Let's position. Whoa, I don't want that. All right, let's position. Where are we? That should be the iris. And then our eye, position that. Put that right in there. And that's it. So that's it for our eyes right now. So let's see if the other thing we can do. So let's say we want to move the whole eye together. So what we'll want to do is, that's where we might want to take a peg and we'll put it above this. Okay, so I want to rename that whole thing. So let's rename it. Again, there's probably a better way to do this. You could do we'll just call it eye all. I don't know. We can change that later. Not worried about it. All right, so we got that peg. We're going to change the position, and I probably want to put it kind of close to where that other one was. And now when we do it, it's gonna move the whole thing. So you could we can scale that up. You can go back and grab that iris and then move it around like that, right? So we can move it all together. We can move it individually. We could set it up so that there could be a peg that attaches to both of those irises if you wanted to. If you wanted to move them together, we certainly could do that. Right now, I think I'm going to leave it how it is. That kind of serves my purposes for what I want to do. We'll create this real quick. Sorry, I hit a button and took all that stuff over there, but this is going to let me rename it. So we're on left eye, all. All right, and let's move it. All right, those two things are set. Now, what do we want to do now? Let's do the eye mask. So that's going to be that's a kind of an interesting thing to create and then to move around, and we'll get to see. So let me shrink up all of this. All right, and we'll need to go back into our node editor. Sorry, node view. Here's our eye mask that we had made. It's just a layer right now, and I'm going to slap it. I want it to be, actually want it to be in back of all these eyes because I want the eyes to be on top. So the way they're stacked in here on this composite is the way they're layered up. So this will end up being in back because we want those eyes to be on top. All right, so let's create a shape. So we're back to our drawing layer, and again, we can do it a whole bunch of different ways. I am going to create a rectangle. And we want that black. And I want it thinner than the eye. So we'll bump that line thickness down. So on my art layer, on my turnaround, sorry, it already has an expression, and I don't really want to build the expression into it. I would just want some neutral stuff. So even the eye mask has a little bit of a altered shape, and I don't really want that. I want a default thing, and then I can change it in the rig. So this works for me, and I made it on the color art. So we'll go back to the line art. There we go. So something like that, that works. And then we can come in and change. So we can change the overall shape. Good enough for right now. And then all I gotta do is start to round some of this out. So that right there might be okay. This does kind of curve up, so if I want to, I can just come in and add another point. I'll push that up. We'll call that done. So there's our line art layer for our eye mask, and so then we're going to go through the same process. So I can alter what that looks like the thickness, like I did before. So there's not really any points. There's that one point up there. So we can just add some. We'll leave it at that for right now and see what happens. You know, I don't want to do too much of this. Because I'm not super concerned about the getting a ton of asymmetry right now through that kind of line weight or stroke. So what I want to go ahead and do, that's all on the line layer. So we want to go back. We'll create a color based on that shape. Go to our color. Now I did go ahead and get the actual color from our concept art. So there we go. There's that. So right now it's just a drawing. It's just a shape. That's all it is. And let's do a let's actually rig it. So this will be a different type of rig. So we did we set up some pegs. On the other one, we just set up a simple cutter system on those irises. So we're gonna do a different thing here. So we'll go into our rigging mode, and this is we're gonna create an envelope. So let's see where I want to put the points. I'm gonna put them on the corners. So select. And we'll pull that handle out. So it's creating a curve. I'm going to put that in. So we can come back and adjust these in a minute. So I put a point there, so we'll put that there as well. And then we want to connect this. All right, I think that should do it. So now what I'm going to do, I'm still in this rigging mode. So I'm just going to try to line all this up. Line it up as best I can. Where'd Todd go? He's the only person who was chatting with me. He's taking a nap. Yes. Like what? I don't hear anything. I didn't hear anything that you just did either. I'm assuming you're making a joke, though. All right. Yeah. Thanks. I'm glad you are. Glad you're enjoying it. All right. So we created that envelope deformer around it. And so now we can grab this rig. And now we can move it and position it however we want. So we have kind of a default position. And then we got all of this that we can now do. Okay. So we got that. Our eyes are on top of it. We can set a peg on that as well if we want to move the whole shape without having to, like, because, you know, right now we'd have to pull individual deformers. That's not a great way if we want to move the whole thing. So we can set a peg on top of that. And then if you really want to, if you want to move the whole thing together, we could set a peg on the eyes and the mask, move that whole thing. So I'm going to go ahead and create a peg on top of that. So we will, oops, come over here, we've got a peg right there. We want to position it. Let's do all right. And then I want to position, I want to just put it right in. I'm going to put it in the center for right now. That's what makes sense in my brain. All right. So we've got that. I think it's a funky color because I'm in, let's see, if there you go. Just had to deselect it. Obviously I'll change the eye color, the iris color. So what I want to do now is there's a bunch of lines that go around his eyes. And let's make some of those. So I'm going to turn off. Turn off? I want to turn off. There you go. Turn off that eye mask for right now. And then you can see it's really blurry, but we can see those lines. I want to make some of those lines. So there's kind of two ways that you can do that I know of. We can do a line tool. Well, first we got to create a new layer or a new drawing. So let's go down here and we'll do an insert drawing. So what do we got? 1, 2, 3 over there. I'm just gonna, for right now, we're gonna call it line 1. Oops. Line 2 and line 3. Those are not good naming conventions, but we're just going to call it that for right now. So we'll do line 1. We'll just do this line that's up above. So I have my line tool, and we're in our line layer, and we're going to make those black. And with this tool, it'll only make a straight line, right? Now I could go into my, so we'll do 3. We'll do this, and then we'll go to line 2, and we'll do our polyline, and we can do this, and that. And we create a line that way, right? Easy peasy. And third way, line 3, we'll select that. We'll go to a brush, and we'll grab we'll just use this solid brush, and let's do that. So let me scoot this up a bit. There. So the nice thing about the brush, obviously, is it has, at least with what I'm doing, has pressure sensitivity. Which I probably like this the most, just because you get variation, and a lot of the stuff that we're doing is variation. So I should have mentioned, we had talked about in previous episodes, creating that line style that's broken up and mimics some of that older animation. What we are going to do here is we're going to apply a we're gonna do that in comp, because through some of their tests we found it easier to create this solid line It works a little bit easier with creating those color layers and everything. And then we can render out those line layers later, and then apply an effect to it in After Effects if we want to. I'm sure you could probably do it in Harmony too, because it has compositing software. I just don't know how to do it, and we do know how to do it in After Effects. So we'll probably show a test of that at some point once we actually have some of this built, and then we'll render some of that out. Should be pretty cool. So there's 3 different ways that we can kind of create these lines, and you're probably saying, well, that one's a straight line. It doesn't look very good. Plus, it's all it's perfectly even. But if we go down, we'll select this, select that. We can actually play with some of this after the fact. Same way I did with the eye, where we changed that kind of stroke width. We're going to add in a point there, and then we can just squeeze some of that, and then we can adjust. And then you're probably like, well, it's still straight. I can hear an echo in the office next to me of myself, Todd. All right, so you wanted to listen to me extra loud. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to go back and just create a quick envelope deformer on this. So we can do it with that and that. And we're done with that. And if we want to test it out, red, we're in red mode so that we can still adjust. So now if we want to come back and match that shape, there you go. And it's broken up because we're not in this isn't like full resolution right now, but so there we go. So there's one way, and then we would do the other we would set up the rigs the same way. Now I put an envelope rig on that so that I could curve it from the straight line. If you already have the curve built into it, then you have other options that you can do. You could just do a peg, right? You could just set up as a peg if you don't care about moving it. And I don't know that we actually care about moving these. So it really depends on, the stroke, actually creating that stroke might be the best because it gives a little bit more variety, a variation within that line. And then you just slap a peg on it, and then you could just move it around if you want to. It just depends on what you want to do. How much control do you want to have? You could, let's rig this stroke, the painted brush that I did. So we could just leave it just like that, and we will do the same thing. So we'll just do that and do that, and that's it, right? And again, we can lay a peg right on top of that so that we can move the whole thing together. So you can do this all you want. You can do this all we want. You can adjust, obviously. And then if we put a peg on top of that, we can move the whole thing together without having to try to grab both of those controls and scoot it around. So that's probably the best way. So what I'm going to do is go to this line 2, and I want to grab that and just delete it. So let's do that. Let's go back to our brush. I probably need more practice at this, but whatever. Works for now. Okay. I'll leave the other one as it is for right now. And you can see it goes back to straight when I'm in this like rigging mode. And when I pop back out, it goes right back. So let's turn on our eye mask. So there we go. So that's all working. Now we can put, again, we can put pegs on top of that. So let's go ahead and let's do some of that. So this is probably a mess in here because I haven't been organizing it. So it doesn't really matter. We'll just scoot this stuff over here for right now. All right. So there's better ways to organize this eventually. I'm not going to do it today, but you can separate this out by color, put boxes around it so you can move them real easily. All right, so there's our lines. And then if we want to, we can slap a peg up above each of those, and then we'll need to position those pegs. What are we on, line 1? Which one was line 1? I think it was that one. So we'll put it right there. Line 2. Right there. Line 3. All right. So if we want to move those guys around, we can just move that whole thing around now. And then on the inside of that, if we want to alter the shape, we can do that as well. So those are both set up. All right. Let's do one other thing. So I'm going to grab the eye mask and all of this and show you. There's one like master peg for the eye mask. Let's position it. We'll slap it back in the middle. So now when I want to move that around, I can move everything together. So it's really nice. It's really easy. That's why I like Harmony. I'm by no means a master at this. I do not know a whole lot. I'm self-taught, all of that stuff. But it shows you kind of what you can do with just a little bit of study, right? Just trying to watch and learn, and what you can set up. So the other thing, so we've got some other lines that we can put around there. We've got the brow, and what I want the brow to actually do, again, we can run a test. Let's run a test. I'm not going to build the actual eye shape, the eyebrow shape, because it's got some detail on it that I want to get correct. Right, it's all scratchy at the ends and everything looks kind of hairy. But what we can do, let's do this. We're going. This might not work, but we'll give it a shot. We'll end on a low note. If it doesn't work, we'll end on a low note. If it does work, we'll celebrate and whatever. All right, so we're going to do a new drawing. We'll do we'll call it brow. And there we go. All right. So we're just going to create, I'm just going to create a rectangle. Again, it's already posed into a position. I wouldn't want to start with that. So let's do this. We'll just treat that as our brow. And then let's go ahead and do the same thing. We'll do a color layer. And we'll just apply black to it. All right. So we've got that. And what I want the brow to do is actually sit on top of that eye mask and cover it up. But if it comes down too far or far enough, I just want it not see that eye mask ever, right? I don't want it to like drop down and then we see the eye mask up above it. I want it to actually cover up. So we'll treat it a little bit like what we did with the iris and the eye. We'll cut. So fingers crossed that that I remember what I'm doing. All right. So we've got our mask, we've got the brow, and we're gonna do it all basically inside of here, I believe. All right. So here's our brow. It's already attached to that peg. I don't need it attached there. And here's our mask. So I'm probably gonna need I'm gonna need cutter. I'm probably gonna need we'll pull some line art. Oh, I'm gonna need an under layer. All right. Oh, this is gonna be complicated. I'm definitely I'm definitely gonna forget something. All right. So let's go ahead and grab those things. All right, so we'll dump a cutter. So let's think through this. We're going to be thinking live thinking coming on here. I'm trying to think. I'm thinking too hard. All right, I'm going to take, where are we here? This whole brow shape here. And we are going to go right here. So we want to copy that. I'm going to put it on a different layer, I believe. And I think I need my color as well. So I'm going to take that. All right. So we've got that. Then if I remember correctly, we're going to go up here and we're going to create a shape. All right, so there's my stroke right there, and what we want to do. We don't need all these points. So this is the shape that's going to be up above that eyebrow. It's basically the mask. All right, and then I believe I can just delete this. All right, so we've got that. Now, let's go back to our brow, and then we got to think, what do I actually want cut out? All right, I think that's like a super basic setup of that. Now let's see if it works. I might not have made it work, but who cares? It definitely didn't work. All right, I'll have to do a little bit more research on that. Like I said, we're ending on a down note. You know, I don't want you guys to feel too awesome about our stream. I want it to be apparently slightly disappointing, slightly underwhelming. If we set a low bar, I think we'll always be successful. So that is that is a little bit. We'll call it there since it's almost an hour. That is a little bit of rigging in Harmony. So what we'll probably do is we can certainly continue on with some of this and building out the rest of the body. But honestly, it is a lot of the same, right? We're creating those drawing layers. We're creating line art, which we're creating color art, and then we're setting up some kind of rigging system within that. And then we want some parts to show and some parts to not be shown when they pass in front of other things. So in thinking about the arms or the legs, you'll be doing some kind of, or I'll be doing some kind of variation on everything that I just did. So using some kind of cutter so that, you know, we can not see certain things like the arm or the leg or whatever. And then setting up those kind of deformers, like an envelope deformer for the whole body, we can do that. Or we can set up a simple curve like we did with the line on the eye through that body if I just want to be able to bend the body with a simple curve. So all of that, it's really just kind of repeating the same process. Sometimes they get a little bit more complicated, like the eyebrow, which obviously I got to figure that out a little bit more. And then we can get into actually turning the character, doing the other views. So what I think I'm going to do, we can do more of this. If Todd wants to watch more of this, if he wants to follow along with me, and then what I think I might do is with the other character with boxers, go ahead and create some pre-made videos of just hitting individual pieces of going through that. Maybe a little bit easier to digest within, you know, like 15 minutes or so. Okay? So, certainly can. No, it is. It is.
But yeah, I mean, it's tedious, right? And it's trial and error, and it's things not working. But I think the goal of our goal has been to kind of give glimpses into what that process is, and then again, like you're saying, show some other videos in terms of, okay, well, here's how we're applying some of what we talked about, and talk more about the process of you know, making these shorts and whatnot, but not so much of the technical in real time, which gets a little bit tedious.
Yes. Watch animate, and maybe maybe it's just me, watching someone animate is not super exciting. However, maybe it's exciting to you. So that's why we're doing it. And hopefully it's a place where you can kind of watch what we're doing, and if you want to ask questions or if you just want to sit and shoot the breeze, that's fine too. Right now it's just Todd and I shooting the breeze. So the only other thing that I would say is special reminder. Todd already mentioned it at the beginning, but special reminder about our Monday 3 o'clock live stream to answer some questions that we've had from students and other things about concept art. And again, he mentioned already, hoping to have a guest there. And then I mentioned way back, I think in stream 1 or 2, about having another guest on that has a little bit to do with boxers and briefs, and I think that's going to happen. So we'll let you know. That'll probably be a special time as well. Probably Tuesday at 10. Probably doesn't work with their schedule, so it'll be a separate special thing. So looking forward to those. Okay, I think that's it.
Sounds good.
Live stream. I was going to call it a podcast. Definitely not a podcast. Live stream number 4 done. See everyone later.
Bye, everybody.